my goodness, welcome back. What a fun morning we have had. I have been backstage watching the entire show, having so much fun. I learned so much from my hype friend Ashley Eckstein's fabulous Hulu Plus show. That was super fun, the trivia. We won prizes. We love prizes, right? Great job on that. How about Disney Studios? Oh my gosh, that was amazing, wasn't it? So many exciting surprises in store for us that we got all the sneak peeks. So now we can keep those little secrets, which was great. And things that we never knew, right, about the ghosts and the pirates with Ex Astencio. That was really, really amazing. It's so beautiful to have the family there. So all the research trips around the world with my favorite Becky and Disney Archives. Isn't she the best? She is so amazing. She's so amazing. Now listen, we've got so much more for you this afternoon, okay? Because you are going to hear from Disney creators, directors, archives, Imagineers, our entire Disney family. We have so much more in store for you. So, you saw that little sneak peek, didn't you? You saw that. So please, let's start our afternoon welcoming my amazing, talented friend, Disneyland Resort Marketing Strategy Manager, the one and only Phineas and Ferb superfan, Mr. Bowtie Tuesday, my friend, Raymond Redding!
And I said, I think Joey's going to introduce me. How many people get to say that? I'm so excited. Destination D23 fans, how are y'all doing today? Oh, it feels so good to be back here at my home at Walt Disney World Resort. Disneyland is great, but I think I kind of miss the heat just a little bit. I know you probably think I'm crazy, but I'm really excited to be here. We are here to talk all things Phineas and Ferb. As Jody mentioned, I am a fan. I watched the series when it came out originally, and when it made its really, really grand triumphant return. And there's so much. This series and this show really showed me as a kid that I can think of anything that I want. I can be a storyteller, I can create, and I can imagine the life and the world that I want to live in. And I'm so excited that I get to be on the stage right now. Now we have something super special for you all. So at this time, I am going to ask everyone to please place those cell phones away. There's going to be the co-creators and executive producers. We have Dan Povenmire and Sophie Marsh. Come on out, friends. It's finding a good way to spend it, like maybe feeling a rocket. Come on, let me hear it. We have some true fans out there. Thank you both for joining. Let's hear it once again for these two incredible individuals. Now I'm going to start out with a really difficult question for you. Oh no, it's really, really difficult, but
what is it? It's going to be all softball stuff.
Oh no, not on this stage, no. So what has it been like reviving such a beloved series after 10 years?
You know, it was a little scary at first because they came and said they wanted 40 more episodes, and we've done so many episodes. We're like, are we going to be out of ideas when we get there? And that all just evaporated like the first day in the writers' room. We came up with so many new ideas. We're like, oh, this is going to be easy. We're having the best time.
And it was really nice because Disney didn't want us to reinvent anything or change anything. They just said what you were doing was working. If we just get more of that to do. We know how to do that.
Yeah, that's true. Well, as a super fan, as a beloved fan, I grew up in that generation, you know, when this series came out, that loved the show, grew up the show, we know the theme song. But what has it been like to evolve this series for this new generation that will fall in love with these characters?
Well, we had to give Candace a new phone.
That's true, yes.
We did very little changes. Like, we didn't change any of the designs of the character, except Phineas has one extra stripe on his shirt to indicate the passage of time.
Okay. No, it's important to note that we didn't draw him any taller.
Yes.
Just have that
It describes a little thinner.
Okay, are you all getting this? I mean, those are small details that we want to know. Now, I do have a question that I'm so curious about. So as we all know, Phineas and Ferb have 104 days of summer vacation. And I would love to know, and I've been dying to know, if they had one more day, what would they do?
They might invent a time machine and go back to the beginning of that summer and do the whole thing again.
I would do that.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
Favorite characters from this series. And while we do that, I will be asking you all a series of questions.
Okay.
So you have to draw,
So we have to
listen,
draw,
and answer the questions at
And
the
listen
same
and
time.
answer the questions at the same time.
All right, I think this one is going to be pretty easy. If you could do one pair of the platypus noise, what would that noise be?
Well, he only has the one noise.
I know. What does that sound like?
So, I can't do it at all. Something like that.
And Swampy, what about for you, friend?
What was the question?
What was the a pair of the platypus noise. Go.
Oh, man. No.
All right, here's
When we
another
do
one.
it, it just sounds like we're clearing our throats.
Correct. All right, here's another one. If you were Candace, are you going to bust the boys, or are you going to join them in the fun?
Well, if I was Candace, I would join them in the fun, but the show would not last as long.
Why can't she give
Carry
birth?
the platypus.
You can do both. And we got Carry the Platypus. All right, Swampy, what are we working on?
Major monogram.
All right, so you got another one for us.
Look at his
I'm curious to
eyebrows.
know if you all had an opportunity to create a new innator, what would that be?
A new,
Dr. Dick,
like
yeah,
one that we haven't done yet?
Yeah, something that you haven't done.
Or one we would want to create in real life.
One that you would want to create in real life.
I would love to have a chicken replacinator. Because that when we first did that, we thought it was the most useless innator ever. Because why would you need something that would just make whatever you shot trade places with the nearest chicken? And we've used it a bunch of times in the series.
Or the farthest chicken, there are two settings.
Right?
That's the truth. So there you go. There's Candace.
Yay!
And okay, but here we go. We can do this real quickly. We can say a platypus. Hey, a platypus.
All right, so if Phineas and Ferb were here right now at Destination D23 and the convention was going to wrap, where would be the first place you would take them on property?
My favorite ride on the property is Rise of Resistance.
Okay, all right.
Bar none, because I was the first kid in line for the first showing of Star Wars in Mobile, Alabama in 1977. And that's the ride that has my heart right now. So I'd probably take them there.
What about you, Swampy? Where would you take Phineas and Ferb?
Haunted Mansion.
Oh, that's
Again, being old, I was at the opening of the first Haunted Mansion ride and remember as a kid just thinking that was the coolest thing in the whole wide world.
And isn't it super cool that you now get to create characters in a storyline that they get to create really cool experiences and rides? I feel like that's a pretty full circle. All right, and here's another one as you all get ready to wrap. Dr. Now, is there an idea or an episode that was at absolutely no way this is going to make it into the series, and it did? If so, what was it? I think there is one. I think there's a story there.
There's probably several, like most of them are probably in that category.
We realized early on working together that I think one of the reasons that we wanted to keep working together is we could come up with really dumb stuff that didn't sound like a real idea, that we really just said to make the other person laugh. And the other person would quite frequently go, wait a minute,
Wait a second.
I think we can do that.
Yeah.
And then we worked on that, and that was one of the great
Yeah.
joys of working together.
Yeah, when somebody pitches something that they're really just trying to make you laugh and they're not thinking it was a real thing, and the other one goes, yeah, but if we did this, we could actually use it. That's our favorite part of the process.
Now, do either of you have a character that you feel like is the most underrated in the series?
the most under, probably the giant flippin' baby.
Giant flippin' baby. Although this season I've gotten to voice Dink Winkerson. And I'm having so much, because it was really a pointless character. For some bizarre reason, our writers have embraced it. And now I'm getting to sing a song as Dink Winkerson. It's just one of the weirdest things, so I love that.
All right, can we give a hand and a round of applause for these two? Come on back into. I have two more questions that I want to ask you all. Now, I'm also curious to know, you were talking about singing. Which song from the show is most likely to get stuck in your head for days?
Ooh, it's whatever song we are working on at the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when I'm.
We all put our heads together for the incredible, the amazing, and the, I guess, quiet Agent P. Welcome, Agent P. We have found Barry the Platypus. Agent P, thank you so much for being here. We just want to get a quick photo with you.
Look at us do it.
I think there's a camera right there. We all smile. Can we all say Dr. Doofenshmirtz? Dr. Doofenshmirtz! Incredible. Thank you all so much. Thank you so much, Destination D23. I've had so much fun with the stage. Dan, Smokey, AGP, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of Destination D23, and we'll see you all around real soon. Ready? Let's go. Let's do this. See you all.
Poor guy can't see.
Hello, travelers. Everyone have their passport? Fine.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. I'm back. Hi, we're on our next step around the globe, and we're going to explore some favorite connections between Disney and the country of Japan and its incredible people. Japan is one of my favorite places to travel, and it's just fabulous. We're going to start with kind of the early years with Walt, and we'll start with a series which Walt Disney sought to educate the American public on real-world people and places, and he imaginatively titled it Walt Disney's People and Places. Now, these 17 travelogue films were released between the years of 1953 and 1960. And for one of the featurettes, the Disney studio looked to spotlight Japanese customs and manners of the past and how they compared to the then present-day Japan. Originally, there was a segment planned that was for the film that was to be titled Japan, and it was about a group of very brave women who had a very dangerous job, and they were called the Ama Girls. And these were sea divers, but they didn't dive for pearls. They dove for a really mineral-rich seaweed called heaven grass. And that narrative was so compelling that they expanded it into its own People and Places film and named it Ama Girls, and released it in 1958, which was actually before the film which came out called Japan. We have a great picture here of Emperor Hirohito and his lovely wife, the Empress Nagako, and they came to Disneyland. And there they were welcomed by the then CEO, whose name was Don Tatum. He's the very tall one next to Mickey Mouse. And they signed the park's guest book. And we actually have that guest book in the archives, including the page that was signed by Emperor Hirohito. And we have it here on display in our Inside the Walt Disney Archives traveling exhibition that traveled all over Japan in 2018. Within several years, Disneyland would come to Japan. With the success of the Disney parks here in America, many countries reached out to Walt and to the company and made requests about building a Disneyland in their own country. And for a variety of reasons, Japan became the natural choice. But one of these was an audio animatronics show that explored all of Japanese history, and it was called Meet the World. It was set in a carousel theater, similar the same Carousel Progress type theater. And in that show, a crane, which is the traditional symbol of knowledge in Japan, led two Japanese children on a journey through the country's past. Now, when I walked on stage here just a moment ago, I don't know if you noticed the music, that was playing, but that was from Meet the World. And it was a memorable theme song that was written by some of our favorite people, the Sherman Brothers. Now, Meet the World was originally designed for the Japan Pavilion at Epcot, but it wasn't used there. It never made it to Walt Disney World, but it did become an opening day feature in Tokyo Disneyland. And it ran for nearly 20 years before making way for Monsters, Inc. Ride and Go Seek, which is there today. Moving on into the world of animated films, how many Studio Ghibli fans do we have?
I'm at Japan, and I had to, because Japan is one of my favorite places in the world. So I had to come out here and maybe like get in on the fun of the action of Japan.
Okay, well, you want to tell us a little bit about why you love Japan so much?
Yes, thank you. I would like to tell you this. Oh my gosh, okay. So here's the thing. Japan is amazing. Hello. Okay, listen. Last year, I got to go with Disney on Broadway around the world. Disney on Broadway and Good Morning America. We went on like a carpet ride around the world, and we got to see where Disney on Broadway have their different shows in other countries. And we ended in Japan, and it was the most incredible thing. I got to see Aladdin in Japan. That is the genie in Japan, which was so really, really cool. They don't look like twins. I'll be gorgeous. But I got to see the company. They were so great. But one of the most amazing things was I got to have a traditional Japanese tea ceremony in a traditional Japanese tea house with the amazing actress who plays Belle in Beauty and the Beast. And it was the most amazing. The culture just invited me in. I couldn't really sit on my knees. It was very hard for me to do that for a long time. So I kind of just did a nice little gentle plie. And it was all good, but it was the most beautiful experience to be able to sort of have our Disney family extended over there. And it was, they invited me and welcomed me in with such open arms. So it was really cool. And then I got to sing with the gorgeous actress who plays Belle. We did a little impromptu duet in the garden, which was kind of a dream come true. Her name is Mikiko, and it was really, really fun. I think we may have a video of
Did
that.
you film?
Well, I think we do.
How about we let them see this
Okay.
marvelous moment?
All right, so you want to see it?
Yeah.
Let's roll it.
Isn't Becky amazing, y'all? Isn't she just...
Well, thank you so much for joining us on our journey through Japan, and we'll see you real soon.
All right, y'all.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so do y'all wanna go back? Y'all wanna go back to Y2K? I mean D2K? Y'all wanna go back to D2K? Well, let's do this. Let's go back to D2K, y'all. Come on. Director of Tarzan, Kevin Lima. Director and writer of the whole sequences Fantasia 2000 and producer of Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Disney legend Don Hahn. Director, writer, and producer of Treasure Planet, Mr. Ron Clements. And director of Brother Bear, Aaron Blaze. This is really exciting. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting to have these amazing men with us. So we're going to throw it back to the beginning of the new millennium by taking a look back at some of Y2K, D2K Animated Classics. Now to celebrate Destination D23 and our journey through the worlds of Disney, we love to learn how the worlds for these amazing fan favorite films were created. So, y'all want to go back? Y'all ready to go back?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's have a seat. Let's get into this. We gotta know what's going on. So now, before we head to the 2000s, we should party like it's 1999. Okay, and we're gonna take a look. Y'all were singing with me. I love that. Y'all are ready to go. We're gonna take a look at Tarzan. How about Tarzan, everybody? Oh my gosh, Tarzan, this film that really led us into this new era of animation. Kevin, Mr. Kevin, right here, please tell us a bit about the journeys you went on to create the environments in this amazing film.
Well, I could probably take up the whole panel talking about this, but I'll make sure to leave some time for you. So, the biggest thing that I think about when I think about creating worlds is research. We do a lot of research when we made these movies. And I think the most important piece of research, because you can look at all the pictures, you can look at 1,000 pictures, you can look at 100 nature documentaries, but until you're standing in that place, you don't get a true sense of what it is. And as artists, that's what we need to make that, to make these films, to make that happen, to translate it. So we go on research trips. And we were lucky enough to go to Africa. And the first place we went was Kenya. And in Kenya, we learned a lot of different things. But one of the things that sort of translated to the movie is that we found out that there was such a thing as red elephants. You can change the slide. Now, normally I would have thought Disney elephants are gray. Let's just make them gray, right?
We all know that.
Yeah. But we discovered that elephants are the color of the dirt that they traverse. So they were red elephants, and that allowed us to sort of elevate and get a pop of color in our movie because we had like gray and black gorillas, and so everything was really kind of like a monochromatic down here. Pop with some orange. One of the second things we learned is that we thought we were really clever. In animation, we could like animate a human to act like a gorilla. But what we found out. And you can roll this video. Oh, wow. We went to Sweetwater's chimp sanctuary, and we met a young boy who was 5 years old, and he was growing up with chimpanzees. And he was like a little Tarzan to us. Wow. And the way he played with them, and the way he rough-handled with them, we said, you know what? We can't do much better than this. It exists in real life. Let's just use this kid as a model. And we gave all this footage that we collected to John Ripper, who was our supervisor of Young Tarzan, and he put together this test based on those pieces of video that we brought back with us. So you can see how every little piece that you collect when you're out in the real world affects what you do on screen. We also went to Uganda. That was the second part of our trip. And we trekked into the chest-high vegetation, and we met and sat with, that's me with hair.
That was a long time.
Yes, it was, Don. Yes, it was. And we trekked through like hours through like vegetation, like chest-high vegetation to get to them. And when we were there, what we discovered was that they're a family, much like us. They are a family, and they had like alpha males, a lot of machismo. We had like loving mothers and rambunctious kids. And we discovered the theme of our movie while we were there, which Phil Collins put into a song. Yes, Phil Collins.
Yay!
Give it up for Phil. Come on, Phil Collins. And what we discovered was a theme, which was 2 worlds, 1 family.
2 worlds, 1 family.
And so it was a great discovery. The second thing that happened was that we were trekking through all this vegetation. No, not this yet. Not this yet. Sorry. I'm a director. The second thing we discovered is that we were trekking through all this really tall vegetation. I was talking to my art director, Van St. Pierre. And we had this conversation, like a wishful conversation about wouldn't it be great if the characters could actually touch the environment? Because I don't know if in animation it's usually a flat ground plane. You can't really touch things, or if you're going to touch them, they pop into a cell animated piece. We thought maybe we could paint our backgrounds in a way that would allow us to make it seamless. So this is where deep canvas came to be. And we brought this idea back to our wizards back at Disney, led by Eric Daniels. And they came up with this idea of the animators and the layout artists working together to create a path for the characters. Then it would all be painted with brush strokes. And when we put our animation into it, the character could then interact with the environment. And this hadn't been done at the studio, I don't think. I mean, we've done 3D worlds, but we had never done something that looked like a painting. And so we basically, based on that research trip again, came up with this idea and brought it back to the studio, and it tumbled throughout the studio after our movie, and these guys took it up and continued with it.
Isn't that incredible? It's so incredible.
Wow.
It's fascinating to see how you turn a real life journey into animation using technology. I mean, because that would be used a lot throughout the next decade of animation, which is pretty incredible. So after Tarzan, the first film of the new millennium was Fantasia 2000.
Woo! Yeah!
So Don, Mr. Don Hahn, so can you tell us about the journey that led to this film?
I almost wore the same outfit. I want to talk about this guy on the screen. This is Roy Disney. And yeah. So I try to speak for all of us to say none of us would be here without this man, and possibly none of you would be here either. He had a passion for the art form. He had a passion for us and for animation and for his family business, and a passion for Fantasia. Walt originally meant for Fantasia to be this ever-changing concert piece. It would come to your town, it would play, and then after a few months a new piece would go in, and that was abandoned after a while, but when the year 2000 came up, Roy said, let's do a new Fantasia that kind of celebrates that idea. So he did, and over a period of probably 10 years, we started to animate sequences between movies. So somebody would finish a movie and then go into Fantasia and then come out and do another movie. And that became Fantasia 2000. Roy was our champion through that entire time, and for all of us, on all of our movies, was great. He was quiet, he was effective, he gave great notes, and we loved him so much.
He had our backs. He really did have our
That's
backs.
what we said. Yeah. He had our backs. Not to imply other people didn't have our backs, but the interstitial sequences were just a way of kind of turning the corner to new music, and we brought in some great people like Angela Lansbury, Steve Martin, James Earl Jones, and those became kind of a fun way to glue the whole movie together. But we also took a research trip because, like Kevin said, as artists, I think all of us want to have that kind of real life inspiration. There's something about humanity in an era when we're dealing with a lot of artificial intelligence and a lot of different things. I have tremendous faith and always will in just our humanity and our humanness to create, and that will always be with us. And so going out in the field and being able to observe things, like volcanoes, like Mount St. Helens, or to observe an elk in the wild or whatever, I think those kinds of things turn into art that is fresh and interpretive of our lives and a caricature of our lives, and something that was always really inspiring. I brought a little video along so you can hear Roy talk a little bit about his passion for
Fargo didn't really come into our consciousness until we tried half a dozen other pieces looking for a finale that had some kind of an uplifting nature to it. I said from the beginning it has to be the emotional equivalent of Night on Bald Mountain and Aubrey Marine. And I remembered having gone for a drive up in the north part of the country with my wife one year right after Mount St. Helens had gone off. And we went right by it, and this huge flow of action, and river clogged up and left trees all down and everything. And I said, wouldn't it be neat to set up a time-lapse camera that just overlooked this whole thing and leave it there for the next 500 years and watch the earth rebuild itself, And somehow that notion came back in my mind as we were talking about this thing, and Paul and Tom Rizzi, I think, came available to work on it about that time too. And their concept of birth and regeneration, or chaos and rebirth, sort of fit into a naturalistic viewpoint on it.
One of the sequences is a breathtaking finale to the whole movie. There's an elk in it, and the elk is a symbolic character, mythological character. Being my husband, he gets on the airplane with the directors. He flies into possibly the coldest place on the planet.
There was a certain kind of elk, and there was none in the local zoos. So they got a trip to this elk farm in Montana. And I remember it had been snowing. It was 14 below zero. So we're putting on these clothes. We looked like Ralphie's little brother in Christmas Story. We were all layered up. We had a picture window van, and they fed the elk. There was a drawn elk outside the van. There was a worthwhile experience because you sort of bring that to the animation.
Thank you for sharing that. It's really cool to see that. Now, 2000 was obviously it was a big year for Walt Disney Animation because but later came Dinosaur, and then The Emperor's New Groove. But more on that later, so stay tuned. Then in 2001 we had Atlantis, The Lost Empire. So Don, what real life location did you and the team on this film journey to create this immersive fictional place?
Well, we thought, first of all, Atlantis has become this cult film, as have all of our films from 25 years ago, and we just have to thank you all for kind of celebrating that. So, thank you. Boy, we took our team, Gary Trousdale on the left, Rick Wiles on the right, Michael J. Fox in the middle, and just immersed ourselves literally in the world of exploration, deep in the sea. When we pitched this to our executives at the time, we said, we're going to go down Main Street. We're going to get to the hub, and instead of going through the castle, we're going to turn left, and we're going to go to Adventureland. And that was such a part of the Disney canon, is going to Adventureland. So we immersed ourselves literally by going to places like the Aberdeen Proving Grounds, where they have tanks from World War I. The era we were using was all about World War I vernacular. And so we designed based on actual submarines and tanks and exploration kind of craft from that era. And that turned into a lot of the art direction for the submarine in the movie, a lot of the vehicles in the movie. And this is just some of the artwork that was pre-production artwork from those field trips. And then, as one does, we really immersed ourselves by going underground. Some of the most amazing caves. We went to Carlsbad Caverns, where the room is, their large room is a 13-foot ball field across, much bigger than this room, underground, and it's spooky and full of bats. And so as an inspiration for underground spaces, it was incredible. Then we went to a backcountry cave where you are walking through the desert and there's a hole in the ground. And you just like hop into the hole and go find things. This is our entire crew, art directors, and me as a younger man, underground, just it's an unbelievable experience because you're trapped basically. And some of the spaces we went into were no bigger than the space underneath the chair that you're sitting in. And I'm a large guy. And to be able to go through those spaces was intimidating and exciting and a bonding experience with our crew. I brought along a little clip to show you how ridiculous it is and the lengths we go to try to have those real in-field experiences that inspire us all. So here's the gang from Atlantis back in the old days at Carlsbad Caverns. Unbelievable decorations underground, and then we hiked out into the fields with the park ranger because a lot of these other caves are unexplored. This is the main entrance where all the bats come out of it.
The kids up by this boat, go down this hole in the ground out in the middle of nowhere.
There was one cave we went into. It was called Spider Cave, and as we all kind of shimmied our way down into it, and gee, why is it called Spider Cave? The guy says, just look above you. First thing you do is you look up, and oh my God.
And well, of course, spiders and bugs, but you know, when they're about 3 inches from your head, and there's a lot of them, when they're big, they look like they're hungry, you know.
You just want to, you don't want to touch anything. Stay as low to the ground as you can.
So if someone asks you to go into a spider cave, just think twice about that. So all of that would come together into the scenes from the movie and into our realization of this fantasy world of Atlantis. And that's something that goes back to the early days of Walt Disney, the early days of films like Bambi or whatever, where they did that kind of field research and the studio was crawling with animals and bunnies and deer and things like that. So really inspiring, and something for all of you that are artists to remember is the real world is real things, and the real world are endlessly inspiring.
Oh my gosh, Don Hahn, thank you, my God. It's amazing to get to see all this footage. So, okay, now after Atlantis in 2000, a little film you all may be familiar with that actually was animated in Florida. Oh, you know this bitch! And then later in 2002, we then journeyed to another immersive fictional world, Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet. So Ron, can you tell us how this film came to be?
Yeah, unfortunately, no research trips. But actually, the project began with me as an adolescent. I was a big Disney animation fan, and I was a big science fiction fan. And I was always kind of thinking, wouldn't it be cool to put the two together if there was like a Disney animated feature that had robots and rocket ships, and so I got the idea though, because I felt like it needed to be timeless in a way. So what if you took Robert Louis Stevenson's nautical adventure Treasure Island, but turned it into a science fiction fantasy? So then later in the fall of 1984, when Michael Eisner and Jeffrey Katzenberg first came to Disney at the first Disney Gong Show, which was a brainstorming technique that Michael Eisner had as a way of coming up with new ideas for animated features. And we got gone, it was over. Anyway, at that Gong Show, I pitched both The Little Mermaid and Treasure Island in Space, and they both got gone. but actually, The Little Mermaid got ungone just a few days later, and Treasure Island in Space got ungone while John Lasseter and I were making Aladdin.
Wow, a little movie called Aladdin. Okay. Wow. Thank you. And everything. And the idea was that when we finished Mermaid, or when we finished Aladdin, our next project was going to be Treasure Planet. That would follow Aladdin. And we even did visual development while we were making Aladdin, while we were directing Aladdin. These are some alien designs from an artist named Rick Mackey, who loved designing aliens. I think he did like hundreds of drawings like these, and we did on these just more aliens than you could ever imagine. Anyway, when we finished Treasure Planet, Jeffrey Katzenberg somehow had soured on, and when we finished Aladdin, Jeffrey Katzenberg had soured on the idea of doing Treasure Planet, which was a bummer for us, and it was also a bummer for the young writers Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who worked with us on Aladdin, because they were big pirate movie fans, and they really wanted to write the script for Treasure Planet. But it worked out fine for them because they went on to write the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Yeah, that worked out.
Meanwhile, John Lasseter and I were still trying to get this going again. I think we have a slide here. This is a sort of mock one sheet drawn by John Lasseter and painted by Andy Gaskell, of like trying to sell this movie. And finally, the studio decided that we actually could make the movie, but not as our next film. We had to do another movie first. So we did Hercules, and then Treasure Planet afterwards.
Wow.
You have to prove yourself really before you start.
That is really incredible. I just love. It's fun to sort of see the steampunk feel of the film. I love that feel. So I'd be curious to learn more about that influence in developing that look.
It was kind of steampunk before there was steampunk.
Yes.
It was very retro film. We always envisioned it as kind of a fusion of the past and the future, and really wanted to favor the past. We invented this rule we call the 70-30 rule, which we meant 70% like 17th century, 30% the future. So really favoring the past, as you can see in a lot of this artwork. And then following that, we sort of went for an oil painting style, which is deep canvas now carried to a further extent. These are actual oil paintings done by Andy Gaskell and Dan Cooper, but oil paint takes forever to dry and it doesn't smell very good, but we did digital oil paintings, so we solved that. And these all kind of lead to what the film actually kind of ended up looking like.
Isn't that incredible to see? Really, the film's a hybrid of hand-drawn and 3D animation. So, like, to be able to sort of bring them together, I mean, that's pretty.
Yeah, it was a hybrid film, absolutely. Most characters were hand-drawn. The robot Ben was all digital. Silver was digital. Glenn Keane did the character animation of Silver, as you can see here, and then another animator did the cyborg parts. So we actually was a fusion of hand-drawn and that. And I have a clip here, just going to show a clip of the virtual sets that were developed for the movie. They're going to dig canvas, take it further. What this meant was we could actually move the camera throughout the set. This was a new innovation in terms of with an oil paint look in the background. So it's very subtle in these scenes in the galley, but you can kind of see how the camera is kind of following the characters around, even though they're hand drawn. And it's subliminal, but for an action film, it seemed like it really helped us. So the technology, it was actually a good thing that the film was probably delayed, because we had technology for this movie that we wouldn't have had if we had done it after Lent. And as Don said, this was a film which was a little disappointing when it opened originally, but it has developed definitely an audience, a sort of cult audience for the film, and that's really gratifying because so many people did such brilliant work on the movie, and it's good to see these movies sort of live on and have a life of their own.
Wow. Thank you for that. Come on! Incredible. So then in 2003, we have Brother Bear. Yeah, she's a So Aaron, where did your journey, how did that to create this beautiful, rich environment? We have a theme here. It's been fun to learn about these environments that the directors have created. For you, how did this come about?
As I told you, I always wanted to go to Alaska and just see them. I grew up in the Everglades, down in South Florida. So this opportunity came about. I was going to Alaska all through the 90s.
Hey, this mic. There we go. Let's make sure that we can.
Hello?
There we go. There we go.
So I grew up in South Florida in the Everglades, always wanting to go to Alaska. And through the 90s, I was going to Alaska all the time. And so the opportunity to make Brother Bear came along, and I really wanted to set it there. So we went to Alaska. We also went to Yellowstone. We went to Grand Teton, Denali National Park in Alaska. We went to 10,000 Smokes, all over the place in Alaska. And I swear I had sleeves. I did wear sleeves. And I was also, we were also known as Brother Hair back then. But one of the things I want to point out is you're going to see a lot of sketches here. That's the big thing that I wanted to focus on today, and that is, we make hand-drawn animation, and that is our language. Drawing is our language. And so, if you want to speak well, if you want to be a great poet, you need to know your language. And so, if you want to do great animation, you need to draw well. And so I always have a habit, as well as the rest of the crew, is bringing sketchbooks with us everywhere we go. And those sketchbooks really were invaluable for us on that trip. So I took my sketchbook everywhere I went. I jotted down, what we were doing, the experiences, the smells, and I drew everything I could find. And we bring those back, and these became really wonderful tools. And people always ask, well, why don't you use Google or all these other websites to try to find a reference? And the key is, as Kevin was saying, you go there and you smell the smells and you feel the wind in your face and you see the animals. And I was camping at McNeil River State Park, and I would come out of my tent, and I never counted less than 13 bears, wild bears, wild coastal grizzly bears that were 1,000 pounds apiece. And there's just something about that experience. And when you live that, then it makes it into the film, and it makes it feel so much more authentic and tangible. It makes the world feel real, and that's what I think Disney and Pixar is so great at, is creating these worlds
that are believable. And so a big part of that is going there and experiencing it. We landed on the glaciers. You know, that's an oil painting that I did there. I came back from one of my trips to Alaska, that big oil painting right there, and I brought that into Tom Schumacher's office, and I said, see, this is what I want the movie to look like. And this big giant painting here. And it just lends itself to that authenticity.
Wow, that's really, really cool. So, yes. So, I'm curious about your new BFF that is in the photo. Can you tell us about
this little guy? We were up in Alaska and we were camping near Denali National Park, and I was going out sketching some of the grasses, and this little squirrel, I guess he had gotten used to the campers, and he was just determined to get food from me. He was going through my sketchbook, he was going all over the place, and so he's immortalized in my sketchbook. I wrote all my notes and everything, and like I said, being there, that little guy made it into the film. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened, right? And so you go there and you experience it. Like I said, on the next slide that we're going to see, we leaned into the wind, you know, in the On My Way song. We're just outside of Anchorage in Turnagain Arm, and there's this giant wind that comes through the bay there. And we leaned, that's Chuck Williams and myself, our producer, and I was leaning into the wind. And I remember after we came out of that, we said, we got to put this in the movie. And there it is, it's in the film. So, you know, it's those experiences that make these research trips so incredibly important.
Oh my gosh, this is incredible. They have these men, you came to talk to us about this. So special to have you on here. Thank you. So now, you know, our journey into the worlds of D2K Animated Films is coming to an end. I feel like, though, we should be ending with a pop crossover, right? Like, there's like at the end of all, there's a fierce pop crossover song. I mean, that's how all Disney Animated Films end. Isn't that right, Elle? Isn't that how that's how you end? So, you know, at the end of some of the films, there was some pop crossovers, right?
Like Johnny Resnick of the Goo Goo Dolls, he did a cool pop cover.
Yes.
Yeah, we have Maya at the end of Atlantis, Maya sang the kind of end credit song, and so it's always been, like I said, a staple in these movies.
But come on, guys. In sync, singing, trapped in the camp.
That's true. That feels like wait a minute. Joey Fatale! Come on, say it! Let's go! How many people know sing? Give it up one more time for these amazing, amazing directors.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.